We are recording. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Penn State Turf Club. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyle Masters, and I'm the president of the Penn State Turfgrass Club. And I'll let the other officers and advisors introduce themselves as well.
My name is Peyton Quisted, and I am the vice president.
My name is Nathan Shell, and I'm the treasurer.
My name is Hunter King, and I'm the secretary.
My name is Nate Moore, and I'm the social media manager.
Awesome. All right. This evening, we have a very special guest, Matt Woodcock from Old Erie Golf Club. And Matt will be talking about the importance of dedication to your area of work. So welcome, Matt, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. And I'm actually having issues with the screen sharing. So I'm going to try to change this really quick.
We can see it on our end, Matt.
All right, perfect. So yeah, my name is Matt Woodcock. I'm from upstate New York. My friends call me Woody and my family calls me Maddie, but you can't call me Maddie unless you change my diaper or planning to change my diapers when I get old. One of the things I wanted to say before I got started was I'm super honored that you guys have me and allow me to talk to you, because so many of your presenters that have been in here, and a lot of you are a lot smarter than me and probably know a heck of a lot more in turfgrass than I do, as far as education and experience. I'm 31 and I only started in the turfgrass field less than 5 years ago as a part-time greenskeeper. I don't have a degree. I have a associate's degree in science that I just finished. And now just yesterday I closed on a golf course that we've ran since last year. And one of the things I'm kind of sharing here is that being the owner of a small golf course means I'm a superintendent, a bartender, a server, a cook, a mechanic. It's a different animal than a lot of people realize. We're just a small 9-hole course in upstate New York. We have POA bentgrass greens, and the reason we have POA bentgrass greens is because we can't afford to take care of the POA, so we just kind of keep it in check a little bit. Our rough is mowed with a tow behind mower that's actually hooked up to this tractor that's right here. And the greens are mowed with a super old Jacobson Greens King. This is the golf club we currently own and run. It's, like I said, it's in Durnville, New York, which, as I was telling Kyle, is stone's throw from Turning Stone. So if any of you have been up to Turning Stone in central New York, you can see the towers from our course here. And if you guys want, we're trying to build our social media following. So like us on Facebook and Twitter. And for some reason, which you guys will see coming up, I decided to start a TikTok, which as a millennial, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I did it anyways. I want to start off by giving you guys a background on myself outside of turfgrass. Previously, I failed as a salesman, and I use the word failed because it's important that we, as people and as you go on your careers, that failures is okay, because you learn a lot in the failure. One of the things I learned is that I'm not a salesman. I can take no for an answer. People would tell me no and I would just leave. And I kind of knew that when I took the job, but I took it anyways. As a salesman, I seriously would sit in my car outside of prospective businesses and clients, and I would call my wife on the phone, and I would get myself so worked up and so stressed out that I would literally start crying on the phone because I couldn't go in and cold talk to these people because I didn't really think my time was worth it, or I didn't believe in the product I was selling. And getting pressure from my boss to make more sales was just making it worse. And so I was fired. And the moment I was fired that night, I decided that I wasn't going to do a job anymore just to pay the bills, which I think is something that a lot of people forget, is that we don't live to work. We actually work to live. Like our job should be really secondary to everything else in our life. But I needed to find something that I enjoyed doing and also could pay the bills. And I actually stumbled across a greenskeeper job, and it was something that we had talked about numerous times throughout my life. That's something I wanted to try, and getting fired was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed to do that. So I got hired at Shenandoah, and like I said, I decided at that moment that I was going to try it and see if I really enjoyed it. And I worked my ass off, and I did all the crap jobs that people don't like to do. I did bunkers and weed eating and edging and all that stuff, walk mowing, and just, all the stuff that people do at the bottom. And after one season there, they brought me on full time, and I ended up getting transferred to Adunio, which was at the time a top 50 course in the country, as their spray tech. And that was just 2 years ago, and now we got into owning a golf course. So and like Kyle said early on, is what I want to talk about is working hard in your job. Working hard and being a decent person are two things that you guys can all do in your lives and at your jobs. They don't cost any money. And like I said, everyone can do it. You don't need a degree, and you don't need experience. So whatever you guys do, if you're a super, if you're a greenskeeper, if you're an intern, all that stuff, just bust your ass and bust your ass like someone is trying to take your job, because they are. There's so many people, like even in this group right now, that are trying for a limited number of superintendent spots or assistant superintendent spots. So it's important that you're proving yourself to not only the people that you work for, but also to yourself. Something else too is ask questions. It's kind of almost counterintuitive, because you want people to think that you know what you're talking about and that you know your stuff, but it's if you don't know it, it's better to find out from someone. There's so many resources out there. Your bosses, turf Twitter, there's other supers out there. Just ask for advice, and don't be afraid to admit that you don't know or that you need help, because there's so many people out there who are willing to help you with it. And like I said, the more questions you ask, the more it shows that you're willing to learn, and the better off you're going to be. Mistakes happen. Admit to them, own them. Everyone makes mistakes. Your superintendent, your boss, everybody was in the position that you were, and did something stupid. They put a mower in a pond. I'm not saying that I did that, but somebody. Own them up. Don't hide them, cover them up. And I think the most important piece of advice that I'm going to give you today is, wherever you guys go, don't fall for the sod stretcher. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but there is no such thing as a sod stretcher. When they tell you to go find it, it's just let them know that you already know, or you can even take a half an hour break, because they think you're off looking for it. This guy right here in the picture was one of our interns, and we were obviously laying sod that day, and we called our mechanic and said, hey, we're sending the intern to grab the sod stretcher. And the mechanic said, okay, I'll get it ready for him. And I honestly don't think I've ever been more excited in my life, waiting for him to come back, because I had no idea what he was going to bring back. But he was way too excited for a toe strap, a broom handle, and a paint roller. We got videos of it that we sent to Toro, because we told Toro that they really should be putting this piece of equipment in their lineup. That top picture up there is actually my son. He's 8 years old. when we took over the golf course that we had this year, we fired up the irrigation, and if any of you have been a intern or worked at a course when they fire up irrigation for the first time in the Northeast, you're not firing it up to start watering, you're firing it up to find where stuff broke, because coming out of winter, a pipe is going to break almost anywhere, or is it going to break almost every time you come out of winter. And so my son showed up after school one day, and he came over, and that's what I was doing, and he jumped right in the hole and got in there and started bailing out water out of the hole for us. And he was just in his element in that mud. I want to also talk about, like I alluded to when we first got in here, with success. A lot of people look at the successful people, and they look at how fast or how far they come, and they think that they did it by themselves, and that person is just a harder worker or smarter or whatever than you are. But that's not always the case, and it's actually not usually the case. Success happens almost always with some kind of luck, somebody taking a chance on you. A lot of people don't know that somebody had to take a chance on Bill Gates when he was at Harvard. He actually called MITS and told him that he would code for them, and they said yes. Jobs had a $250,000 investment from this guy that he just met. Jeff Bezos, which is probably the most famous self-made billionaire story, because everybody thinks that Bezos just decided one day that he was going to sell books online because the internet was just becoming a thing. And so everybody thought like, oh, Jeff Bezos is so smart. He came up with that idea and he implemented it. And while he was super smart and had that drive or that idea, he had a lot of family members. And I think it was something like 10 or 15 investors who invested an average of $50,000 on him. And probably one of the most famous cases that people don't realize is that as Lego wasn't famous until Turf Lego. He started making stop motion Lego videos about turf, and ever since then Lego just took right off, and a lot of people don't actually know that. Also, with that luck, it's being in the right place at the right time. It's having, like I said, support outside of yourself, parents, in-laws, a wife, a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever, a best friend. With the course that we just closed on yesterday, it was obviously a huge investment. It doesn't come cheap owning a golf course, and golf courses don't come for sale a lot, or people don't have the opportunity to buy golf courses a lot. So I want to tell you about my lucky story. Is 5 years ago or so, I was hanging out at the golf course that I now own, and the owner had came up to me and he made a joke, and because a couple of my kids were there, and he said that, when we retire, you should buy the course. And I just laughed it off and said, yeah, that's funny. And my dad was there, and we kind of all had a good laugh about it. Well, 3 years ago, he came up to me again and said, hey, I really think that you guys should consider buying the course when we retire. It'd be the perfect opportunity for you. You have 4 kids, you're local, everybody knows you. It's a great family, a great place for a family to grow up and for a family to work. And again, I kind of laughed it off, but we kind of took it more seriously. Well, last spring, he came up to me and he said, hey, we need to talk about what your plans are, because we're thinking about retiring in 3 years. If you want to take over the course. And I said, yeah, let's sit down and talk. And so he sat down and he told us his price and said it was going to be about 3 years that they were going to retire. And I said, you know what, 3 years is not really a long time, but I can certainly try to put together funds to buy the course and to get a mortgage out on the course if I have to. And we'll see what we can do. And about halfway through the season last year, he came up and said, my wife is getting sick, and my partner, we both want to retire. This is going to be our last season. And of course, I was thinking, like, I don't know how I'm going to get money. I don't know how I'm going to get funding. I don't know how I'm going to be able to put all this in place within a year. At that point, it wasn't even a year, it was about 6 months. But there were so many people who supported me. My parents invested in the course. My mother-in-law invested in the course. My sisters, we kind of all did whatever it took, financially and emotionally, and somehow by the grace of God or with a lot of luck, we ended up closing and buying the course. But that's kind of what people don't see is they see that we bought it, or they think we're, that we're doing it by ourselves. But all these people, all these, self-made, quote unquote, self-made millionaires, billionaires, even your local business people, they had people who supported them in the beginning, because even though people say that they start from nothing, it's very rarely that somebody actually starts from nothing and becomes a huge success. So that's kind of my luck story. There's actually a screenshot of one of my TikToks, but this is if I could describe being an owner in a couple pictures, this would be it. Is 10 o'clock one night, these two drunkards decided that they were going to stay a lot later than normal, and we had a tournament the next morning, so I had to get up at 5:45, go out and cut cups, which a lot of you guys probably know as being interns or working in the industry, is that 5:45 isn't even early. It's actually probably a couple hours late for a lot of people. So I had to do a quick turnaround. And then that same night we had this is one of our irrigation pumps, that pumps straight out of a pond. And it decided to spring a leak at 9:30 at night. So knowing that it was going to be hot, we decided that we had to fix that late at night, which is, it's not ideal, but it's a lot of fun. And that stuff is just kind of comes with the territory. But I want to finish up by talking to you guys about opportunities that you guys will have, especially being Penn State grads and coming out with your bachelor degree, because it looks great. Top 100 courses, I worked at one. It's great. It is a lot of fun. You learn so much from your superintendents, from the people you work with. You'll meet a lot of great people. And you'll also, one of the cool things is you'll be able to play an amazing course if you work there, because that's one of the great perks of working at one of those courses. You get to play there. So that's a great perk. But that's not the majority of golfers. That's not their experience that they live every day. It's a great learning experience to work at a small course, a smaller 18-hole course, a smaller 9-hole course, being an intern or even right out of college, or there's always great opportunities for those courses. They're always looking for assistants or sometimes even superintendents. And working at those courses, it's really eye-opening to see how the other half lives, or how the majority of golfers actually experience golf courses, because like I said, the majority of golfers don't have the money to spring on a top 50 course every day. So they're members at these small courses like ours, and other inexpensive courses. And also something that you're not going to be able to experience at a top 50 course is a Sasquatch in the middle of number one fairway. That Sasquatch, his name is Nibs. We move him around probably every 2 or 3 weeks just to give the golfer something to look for. And when I tell you that if we stop putting him out, I think our membership would go down. I'm not even joking. People, for whatever reason, they just think this is the funniest thing. My kids love to move him around. We decorated him on the 4th of July with a big old flag. And we decorate him for our hometown college team, which is Syracuse. And like I said, the golfers, just for whatever reason, they just think it's the coolest thing ever that there's a Sasquatch hanging out on their course. One of the other things too about our course, and that a lot of people forget, is that our courses are, I don't want to say like overrun, but there's a lot of diseases on our course, and it's not necessarily because we don't know how to fix it. It's because of something that I'm sure you guys were taught is tolerance. We have a certain number of tolerance that we allow even on our greens with diseases, and once it gets bad, we reactively spray for it. Most of your top 50 courses are going to be proactive with that stuff, but unfortunately we can't afford to be proactive, just because it's kind of expensive, and so we kind of have to play it by ear. A fun fact is the top 50 course I worked at was a Duno golf course in central New York, and they had a spray budget or a chemical budget of over, I think it was right around $265,000. Last year, the course that I worked at had revenue generated at about 180,000. So their chem budget at the top 50 course was more money than we even brought into our own course. Like I said, our course has diseases that we live with. You can see the picture here. There's some dollar spot in there. The fairways, we just kind of let it run its course as long as it's not overrunning the greens. We let it go. And I think something I want to add too is we often, when we're working at those big courses, you look at those other courses, you drive by them on highways or wherever, and you look over and you think like, who is running that course, or what kind of person would want to call that place home, and what kind of golfer want to play there. But we forget that those courses are often run by 1, 2, at the most 3 people. That same person who's running the course and taking care of it is the person who mows at 5 o'clock in the morning, and is the same person who's bartending at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night and closing up. And when you work at those courses, it's a huge eye opener, just as far as what you can learn. One of the cool things about those courses as well is you build relationships, like one-on-one relationships with your customers, which a lot of times, like you guys would know, is that when you work at the high-end courses, it's almost like you have to stay out of the way. Like you're not even a person. You're just seen as the help. So if a golfer comes, you gotta hide in the bushes or duck in the woods while they go by. So these smaller courses, it's really fun because the golfers want to meet you. They want to talk to you. They want to see what you're doing. Like, I can't tell you the number of times I was cutting cups at 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night, and a golfer came by and said, "Hey, I've always wondered how to do that. Like, can you show me?" Or when we take plugs out of greens or fix sod, they just always are very curious about what's going on. And it's cool because they really want to see you as a person and see you as a worker, and they really value what you're doing. Something else with these courses is you become resourceful. You make do with very little. We don't have big fancy equipment at our course. We don't have all the amenities or all the stuff in the mechanics bay that the other courses have. And actually I'll divulge just for a second, is the picture on the left here. This is the previous owner, and we had to go clean up a tree that fell or something. I can't remember exactly what, while I was in the middle of a beer with a customer. And so I told him that I would go out with him, but I was bringing my beer with me because I'm not wasting it. The middle picture here is a plane that actually landed on our course in the middle of our Monday night league. He made a couple passes and waited for one of the fairways to clear and decided to set her down on our course. And he got out of the plane, came up, he had a couple beers, and then decided to take off. So that's something you're never going to see at a top 50 course. You'll never see somebody just set a plane down right in the middle of the fairway. And then the third picture is one of my sons swimming in one of our irrigation ponds. There's something fun that we can do at our backwoods course is utilize the ponds for more than just irrigation. But back to the rewarding part and being resourceful. There's so many things that I never even would have thought about doing, like when we sprayed out or blew out our irrigation system. We took the air compressor from the mechanics bay, found a generator on Facebook garage sale, fixed the generator and hooked them up in 2 different golf carts to blow out the irrigation line or irrigation lines, because we actually have 3 different sections. So we drove around to each section and blew them all out individually, which is as redneck, I guess, as you're gonna get. And there's really no better feeling than actually enjoying the fruits of your labor. I can't tell you how many times I sat last summer just at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night and just watched the sunset while having a beer and looking out over the course. And it's a feeling like none other. And I guess finally, before I give my contact information, which is on the screen, there's one thing that I think is really important that not a lot of people talk about. It's super important in our industry and other industries, is the pictures that I didn't show and I didn't take are of all my sleepless nights, being up in the middle of the night, stressing out about the next day, the tears, the arguments with my wife about working late and not being able to see the kids, coming home late, getting up early. Like I said, not seeing my kids for a couple of days because they were in bed when I got home and they were still sleeping when I left. All that stuff, please don't burn yourself out. Take care of yourself mentally and physically. It's something that men especially have an issue with, is because we want to be the macho man. We want to prove that we can do it. But it's very important that we reach out. We try to take care of ourselves. Reach out to your boss, someone in the field, because the odds are that they were in your position at some point and that they had reached out to someone when they were struggling, because it's just grass. It's not that serious. So like I said, please take care of yourself. If you have to take a day off, sometimes the people we work for aren't as understanding and they want to make you feel bad, but don't ever feel bad for trying to take care of yourself, because everything else that's going on outside of your job is much more important than whatever bubble we live in. So this is my contact information up on the screen. That's my email. I'll have Kyle send out an email to you guys with my Facebook and Twitter. Feel free, like I said, to email me. I don't know if we're going to be hiring an intern or hiring somebody to help us out this summer. It's kind of our first summer that we're going to be paying for everything. So we don't exactly know where we stand with all that. But if you have any questions or you want to send over your resume and you want to maybe take a chance at one of these small courses, or if you have any other questions, like I said, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can follow me on Twitter as well. And if you have any questions about anything, when you're working or if you just need somebody to talk to, please, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out. Once again,
That
thank
was
you.
awesome conversation. I think that's a lot of information that we always don't hear. And it's good to kind of hear the other side and what you're experiencing and your story that you've gone through to be where you are today. And, like you said, it's not always a straightforward path and there's times of failure, but it's very important to take care of yourself mentally and physically.
Absolutely.
With that being said, I'll leave it up to any questions. If not, Matt, thank you very much. That was awesome. That was a great conversation. I'll leave this up for recording for any questions if anybody wants to say anything.
Hey, Matt, thank you for your time. I was actually, this is one of my most favorite presenters we've had, and I've been doing these meetings for the last year and a half now. What'd your wife think about when you're like, hey, babe, I want to buy a golf course?
So honestly, first of all, I want to throw it out there that I couldn't have done it without her. And it's not even me, it's we. And fun fact, she's actually 51% owner and I'm 49. There's huge tax breaks for women-owned businesses. So she can overrule me on any thoughts I have, which she already has. But when we first talked about it, like I said, 3 years ago, I was like, hey, Dave, or actually 5 years ago when he first came to me, I said, Dave wants us to buy the golf course. We both laughed at it. Like, yeah, I'm working a minimum wage job. Like, there's no chance. And then even 3 years ago, it was still a laugh. And then when it got serious last summer, she is one of those people that goes into how can we do this right now mode. And like, she just went full beast mode. Her and her mother just did everything. They did all the research. They ran numbers. And if I didn't just close out her Chrome, which since she's not home, I can say that out loud, is she has 25 tabs open in probably 3 different windows. And that's how it was when we kind of took it more seriously. And actually at the end of last year, she said, well, I'm so glad your dream is coming true. And I said, well, I hope it's your dream too. And she said, well, I've always wanted to own a house, and there's a house on the golf course. So I guess the dream checks out. But she's been super supportive, and she realizes that this is such a cool opportunity for our family. And like I said, I couldn't have done it without her support and without her putting up with my bullshit.
How are you able to like maintain a balance between working on the course and kind of keeping that aspect of running it as well?
Yeah, so being the golf course that we have, like I said, with tolerance and all that stuff, there's a little more flexibility, I guess, on when you have to do things. Like sometimes we mow greens at night, at the end of the night, if we have time. I mean, obviously I prefer to do it in the morning, just to get dew off, if nothing else. But it's tough. It's definitely a balancing act. You have to have a good support crew. And you also have to know when that you can say, you know what, as much as I want to do X, Y, or Z, it's just not in the cards this week or this month. You know, we have however many tournaments. I can't cut that tree down, or I can't fix the edging on the pond, or, you know, whatever it is. It's definitely prioritizing what you do, and what can wait. Also being the owner, or being the guy in charge, it's something it's interesting to me, because I guess I've never been that way, but a lot of people want to say, oh my God, I had a beer with the owner. And it's like, it's so silly, like, to say out loud. It sounds like crazy, but like, you have to be able to also say, you know what, I have stuff to do on the course, but the people who are coming patronizing us and spending their money here should almost always be the number one priority. And if you have to hire somebody to do something, it should be hiring people to work on the course or do maintenance, just because there's no substitute for FaceTime with your customers, and, you know, making them feel appreciated, which obviously they are, just because we wouldn't be open without them. So you can't really hire out for somebody to do that. So like I said, prioritizing what needs to be done, like mowing greens and mowing fairways and that stuff, versus what can wait. Like sometimes I hate to admit, but weed eating sometimes has to take a back burner, and cleaning up around ponds, like that stuff. It sucks that it has to be that way, but to run these smaller courses, that's unfortunately the life we live with that.
Matt, I just wanted to ask quickly. So how many you're running the course, you're running the bar, you're the owner, and you're doing this all by yourself, or do you have a couple of people helping you out?
Yeah, so family, I guess, would be the biggest answer right now. Just like I said, because we're getting our feet wet. Last year, full disclosure, last year we didn't own it. I just ran it side by side with the owner. And you know, I had made a lot of decisions. This year is our first year kind of on our own. But our family is going to be a huge asset, just because like my parents are getting retired, and her mom is close by. So there's a lot of people who are going to be able to help us for free right now, which is something that I guess is a huge advantage that we're going to have this year. We just had, like I said, a lot of people offered to help us for little cost. But when we get moving forward, like probably in a couple of years, we're going to have somebody help us out. My wife is obviously a huge part of planning and working in the clubhouse and that kind of thing while I'm out on the course. And I also can say that she can run equipment better than a lot of the people that I've seen. So that's a huge blessing. But I can't do it by myself. And it's easy also for a lot of business owners to say that, like, oh, I did it all myself and whatever. And that's just not the truth. Like there's just no way, because if I did it by myself every day, I'd be up at 6 a.m. and I wouldn't be able to leave till 10 o'clock at night. So we're going to have a couple people, family members helping us out in the bar. My mom's going to be on a mower just because she grew up on a farm. So she knows how to run all that equipment. My dad's offered to help in the clubhouse when he can. So I guess the short answer is no, I can't do it by myself. The long answer is down the road, hopefully we can hire a few people outside of our family, just so my family doesn't get burnt out on this either, because as much as everybody supports us, it's not their journey. It wasn't their choice. So I don't want them to get burned out on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody has any more questions, feel free to ask. I'm just going to stop the recording right now.